Welcome to Into the Dataverse, the podcast about all things open data. In this series, we talk to builders, founders, investors, and everyone in between about all things open data, the projects that they're working on, and what they're interested in and what motivates them. Today's episode is special because it's the first episode of Builder Bites, which is going to be our new series. The episodes are a bit shorter, but featuring projects that we find really interesting that we think that you should know about. My guest today here is Hira. She's from Plurality, and I'm going to let her introduce herself and tell us more about her role and what she's working on.
Hi everyone, I'm Hira. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Plurality. And I've been in the space for since 2016, so more or less 8, 9 years now. And I really came and I got red pilled by Web3 in 2016 when it was like a really early nascent technology. Web3 was not even a term back then. Everyone was talking about, okay, what's blockchain? Is it legal? Is it illegal? And like there were all these discussions back then, and NFTs were not a thing. And then ERC20 came out and tokens and all of that stuff. So I think I've seen three bear and bull cycles now. So I've been through it all. I've seen the disappointment. I've seen the euphoria. I now like to say it like generations of Web3, because like in the start, there were like all ICOs, and then there started becoming like layer ones and then scaling problems and layer twos. And now I think we're in a position where we are going to see more user focused consumer applications. So yeah, I've been here for a long time, and I'm still really excited to be in this space because I really believe in the vision, I would say.
Thank you. That's really interesting. You have a longer history in Web3 than I do. Um,
Yeah.
I started in the bear cycle. So, well, actually, I was at the end
Ah,
of the bull cycle, which was like got me excited about it. And then I started right when it started the bear cycle. And then there were no more yacht parties. So,
when I came to Web3, there were no yard parties. In fact, people kind of treated the people who were talking about blockchain in a very cynical way and thought like we were all the crazy young people. So I just graduated out of university at that time. So yeah, I used to get the impression from people that, okay, you're young, you don't know what you're talking about. But I'm glad I was right.
yeah, you were right. Good call. Good
Yeah.
judgment. So can you tell me more about what you're working on at Plurality?
Yeah. So the concept of open web has always intrigued me. Like if you think about like in this world, access to information and especially unbiased information, it's everything. And if you look at the facts, the open web is kind of dying, and we might be actually the last generation to experience it. That is, if we don't do anything about it. As I already told you, I came into the Web3 space. It was purely out of ideological reasons, and I was so excited that Web3 is going to change the world. That didn't happen, but I still love the concept of open web and open platform, censorship resistance, decentralization, and that's the kind of ethos that I've been living for the past decade of my life. And even though I've been in this space for a long time, mostly as a developer, so I come from a technical background, but year after year in this space, I came to a point where I realized like nothing is changing, and that was like a really disappointing phase for me because you give your 10 best years to an industry, and you feel like you're trying to do the right thing, but it's just nothing is happening really. And if you see how things are progressing now, the centralized platforms are getting more and more centralized. And every time you go on the internet, everything follows like a filter model. So let's say you go on the internet today and your preferred browser of choice is Google Chrome. The moment you log onto Google Chrome or try to search anything, half of the internet is like filtered off. Then you go to a certain social media platform, let's say Twitter, or I keep saying Twitter, X, if let's say it's your preferred social media platform. The moment you go onto there, it's like the whole Facebook and Pinterest and everything else, it gets filtered off. So now you're in this walled garden, in this siloed platform, and you can only access the social graphs that you've created there. You can only access the data that you've created there. You can only see what the algorithms are allowing you to see. And it's like this siloed walled garden that you're inside. And you might say, like, what's the problem in that? Because Twitter or Ex- again, Twitter, X and Facebook or Pinterest, they are like separate platforms. They're owned by separate companies. So why should they even allow for this kind of interoperability? And that's the question I get again and again. But if you actually go back to how the internet was being built in the start, it was supposed to be interoperable. It was supposed to be open web. The early chat clients, or like had these chat servers, and then all the clients were just a wrapper on top of it, and they were all standardized in a way that they could actually talk to each other. But somewhere along the lines, that completely changed. But of course, all is not doom and gloom, because there are now decentralized versions of platforms coming out as well, like Mastodon. I don't know if you've heard of it, but Mastodon is a very famous decentralized social platform. Then there's this ecosystem of Fediverse that's being built, and Threads by Facebook. They're also saying that they will join Fediverse. And when Web3 platforms are now becoming more and more prevalent, they also say that they want to follow this open web principles as well, because like all the data and everything is open and they can be standardized. But that's where the funny part comes in, because even though Web3 was supposed to be, this open web thing, and all the platforms were supposed to follow the open web principles, but we have somehow messed it up, because there are now hundreds of layer ones and layer twos, and all the data, all the context is fragmented, and it's like spread across everywhere. So when you create a Solana wallet, and when you create an Ethereum wallet, or when you create a, let's say, a Ripple wallet, you have no way to link them. There's no connection between these different wallets. They're not linked to each other. Nobody can tell if they belong to the same person. Even the holder even cannot prove that all of these belong to me. I mean, they can, but there's no standardized way to do it. And for example, your POAPs, they are on Gnosis. Your lens handle, it's on zkSync. Your NFTs are on Zora. Maybe some of your NFTs are on OpenSea. When you go to a metaverse platform, it operates in a completely different silo. So even though we are saying that we're building the open web, but we're actually not, because how do you have a way to connect all of them? And that is why, like when I came to this realization, what's happening here? This is not how this was supposed to be. And that's when me and my team, we started going back to the basics, and we realized, okay, the system is broken, but what can we do about it? And we started going back to the basics again. So if you think about it, when you sign up on a platform, how do you exist on that platform? You're essentially a profile. You're just a profile. You have your username, you have your image, and maybe some data associated to that profile. And as you interact more and more on that platform, more and more contextual data gets attached to your profile, and that's how profiles are become more and more enriched. And that is why now profiles are so enriched that they're actually a business advantage, and that's why nobody wants to make them open source or interoperable or according to the open web standards, because they're actually a business advantage. And that is why we started creating Plurality. So in Plurality, we're creating an open context layer for the web. And using this open context layer, we are creating smart profiles. And these smart profiles are basically self-custodial interoperable profiles that you can use to interact on any platform. And we're not even distinguishing between Web 2 and Web 3, because we believe like open web is something that encompasses all the platforms. And so, what are exactly these smart profiles? They're just normal profiles. Like you can create your music profile, your social profile, your work profile. And if you want, you can connect them with your existing wallet. So, your Solana wallet, your Ethereum wallet. And and you can also connect it with your existing Web2 platforms like your Twitter or your Facebook or your Lens handle or your Farcaster, for example. And it creates an over encompassing profile in a standardized way that you can then take to any platform. One very important thing that we like an advantage that we believe would be to introduce profiles in the Web3 ecosystem is actually better user experience, because right now if you go to any Web3 platform, it's as if you're going to the internet for the first time. So it's just a blank slate. There's no information about the user against the wallet address. The D app has actually no way to understand the user, no way to tailor the experience or customize the experience according to their tastes. And that is why the Web3 UX feels so clunky, because that experience is just not comparable to Web2 platforms at all. So yeah, these are the challenges that we're trying to, yeah, fulfill with Plurality's open context layer.
I think that's awesome. As somebody who I'm very like disorganized in my brain. And one of the most frustrating things for me ever is how many different chat like functions that I have, like how many different
Yes.
inboxes I have. Um, it's actually like if anybody who knows me knows that like I am not good at responding to messages because I'm always checking between Discord and WhatsApp and Telegram and Signal and Messenger, and iMessage or whatever they call it now. And just yeah, like 100 different things plus email.
And then 100 different passwords.
And
And
then
then
100
100
different
different seed
passwords,
phrases.
100 different passwords and different seed phrases and just, yeah, things that I've forgotten the password to and now I can't access that I would really like to delete, and stuff like that. So I find going online to be a chaotic experience, even though I love it. I do thrive on chaos, but it is really nightmarish for how long we've had the internet for it to be. Well, it's gotten progressively worse. I don't want to say like it should have improved, like you said before. It is a business model. So I've heard it called like the rot economy. And I think that's like a big part of how we experience the internet now. So I really think it's interesting what you're doing with plurality and the potential that it has. So yeah, I can you tell me like what's next for plurality? Because I know you have something really exciting coming up and I would love to hear more about it.
Yeah, so we actually have a very interesting next 3 months. So in October this year, there's going to be an event called Fashion Week Connect, which is going to be an event encompassing different metaverse platforms, different fashion brands, and yeah, plurality is going to be in the center of it. So, like I already told you, Web3 has a problem of fragmentation and interoperability, and these different platforms we think that they are interoperable, but they are not, and that is the same problem that metaverse is also facing. So all these different platforms, they're all still operating in silos. For example, the NFTs or the assets you have in one platform, the other platform cannot even read it, let alone like we're not even talking about bridging. There is actually no way for one platform to be able to read uh, the the assets from another platform and use them in a way that the context can be interoperable. And this is like a huge disconnect, which makes creating cross context scheme looks very, very difficult. So using Plurality's open context here, we created a tool which we've named as Reality Spectrum Matrix or RSM, which looked a little bit like a Russian, like a roulette, or maybe you remember the old telephone dials where they were like there was a circle and like there were numbers on it. So the
The
RSM looks a little
Rotary.
bit exactly. The RSM looks a little bit like that, and you can use it to between different platforms. So you can use the RSM to create a metaverse profile that links your existing accounts. And then using this metaverse profile, you can move between the different platforms. And this is actually a game changer from a marketing perspective. Um, and when we started creating Plurality, we had no idea that there's going to be a use case for it in the digital fashion industry, but turns out there was. And it's like brands wanted to have this kind of connection. So for example, you see an ad on Instagram and you start interacting with that brand on Instagram, and then you can go from Instagram to a gaming environment where you can also interact with whatever game like experiences this brand has to offer. And then from there, you can also go to the e-commerce website of that brand. But there needs to be like a way to seamlessly move users between these different platforms and maybe move their context as well. And that is where the RSM and Plurality's open profiles come into play, because we are also creating this foundational layer for interoperability. And yeah, so it's like this is something that could be used for interesting marketing tactics which follow the principles of marketing 5.0. So it's a completely new kind of event, and I'm really, really proud that Plurality is going to be in the mid of fall. And if somebody wants to check it out and get early access, they can also go to dftc.xyz/rsm, and they can, sign up, and there are
I'll link that.
perks. Yeah, some perks and everything. Yeah. And what we're actually trying to do is we're trying to align incentives between the different parties so that it's not just because right now the profiles are all the incentive is only for the platforms. but what about the user? So what we're trying to do is like we're trying to balance these incentives between the brands, the users, the platforms, and try to create a system where we don't discriminate between, okay, this is a degen user or this is a normie user. We want to capture users where they are and allow them to be able to interact with these different platforms with whatever profiles they currently have. So let's say you have a MetaMask wallet, you can just connect that. You have a Solana wallet, just connect that. You don't know how to create a wallet, just use your email and we'll create one in the background, completely self-custodial but passwordless. And then if you, for example, want to create your profile, but you don't want to connect your Twitter, don't do it. Maybe you're fine with Snapchat, not Facebook, completely fine. Maybe you're fine with Sandbox, but not Decentraland, also fine. So we really want to give agency back to the users and create this rails for open profiles for open web. So that's that's the idea.
That sounds really cool. So it's mostly right now for advertising or like for ad space
So
or
right now the first pilot program is basically targeted towards digital fashion brands. So brands that that are in physical life as well, but also want to try a little bit with the digital fashion space. So for
okay.
example, there's you know this these digital twins. So
Yeah.
for example, when somebody buys something in
Mhm.
real life, they can get an NFT that they can then use in Roblox or Decentraland or any of these as well.
Mhm.
So that's the first pilot that we are doing. But of course, this is just one of the use cases that we want to support. The tech that we are creating is very open for all different kinds of use cases, and especially like different social media platforms, decentralized social platforms, or decentralized creation economies. So our tech has use cases in all of these areas as well.
Awesome. Yeah, that's cool. I used to work in like in the gaming space, like mobile gaming. And I worked a lot with fashion and brands and stuff and like marketing in game. So I think that's really interesting that you could tie all those things together in a way that I don't think you can really do in these like data silos. So I'm really excited to see what you guys do. And yeah, I hope you stay in touch so we can check it out and maybe talk again about it in a few
Yeah,
months.
yeah, really excited as well. So yeah, as I said, this was not something that I was expecting because like I have zero idea about fashion nor digital fashion or anything like that. If you ask me like how what's the difference between Gucci or Margiela or any of that, I would not know. I have zero idea about this space. But this was also a very like surprising for us that the tech we created. That's I think that's finding product market fit, right? So you
Yeah.
create a product, you put it out there, and then you don't know who's gonna understand or like where you're gonna find the customer that has this as a burning pain. So yeah, it's super interesting for us as well. So yeah.
They found you or you found them? How did that work?
They found us actually. So
Oh,
we went through an accelerator program and with Outlier Ventures, and as part of that accelerator program, they had a large network of people where they made us pitch to many different people. And yeah, I think I was used to do like 8 to 10 pitches per day. And this was just one person who heard my pitch, and this was the person that was the organizer of the last Metaverse Fashion Week. And he was like, I was trying to find something like this, and there was no product out there that could do this.
that's a big
Yeah,
compliment to the work you're doing that there is a product market fit. I think I mean, obviously it's very important if you have a
yeah,
business model to have product market fit, but I do think that sometimes it's a little bit overlooked.
yeah,
So congrats on that. And yeah, I'm going to link everything that you mentioned down below, and your socials so that the audience can go check that out. And thank you so much.
yeah. Thank you.